Okay, in this video, we'll move just our pine tree over to start with before we get too complicated. And we'll talk a little bit about what we're going to be creating. So let's start by going to our timeline. If you didn't watch the last video, we ended by turning the timeline into the asset library so that we could see our things that we've created. So I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger by clicking on the edge and dragging. Click on the little clock icon to switch it from the timeline to the asset browser, and then select the library or the folder that you have your Blender files in. So by default, it's usually the user library, and we want the documents folder is where mine are at. And I'm just going to select the tree and just drag that into the scene. And that will give me my pine tree, and I'm just going to scale that down since it's a bit too big. Now let's switch to the material preview, and I wanted to, wanted to double check to make sure the materials came with it, and they did. And I'm just going to scale this down and move it over to the left and apply the scale. Now later we may change the scale, but I just didn't want it big and in the way. Now that we have that, let's switch to the geometry nodes, and I'm just going to readjust this a little bit so it's a little easier to see. And we can go ahead and switch this to material preview. So we're going to put our geometry nodes onto the plane. And I'm just going to talk for a minute, and then I'll end this video, and then we'll actually get into the steps. So what we're going to try to do is set up a system that will take our tree and it will spread it across the surface of our plane. We're going to do a couple different variations. We're going to make one that will just randomly place it. Then we'll take those settings and make a few, take that setup and make a few changes so that we can paint onto the surface and control where the trees are based on where we paint. And then if things go according to plan, we'll make a third version where instead of having a single object, we have a group of objects that it will scatter, which will be helpful when we have our 6 other trees. Now we are going to put a lot of work into this because my hope is that once we get this done, we can make it an asset, and then you can use it anytime without having to do all this work again. So we want to try to do it right the first time and label things and make it really useful so that this will be a tool that you can reuse often and not have to do a lot of work. So I'll end this video here, and in the next video, we'll start the process of setting this up.